How the type of attachment and sexual desire are connected. Sexual relations are an important part of a romantic relationship. How you behave in all your relationships is determined to some extent by the attachments you developed in childhood. This also applies to sexual relationships. Sex is part of our natural ecosystem. But the fact that it is an inherent part of our nature in the sense that we have really sophisticated mechanisms for this function does not mean that it is without problems. Problems can be caused by the relationship between attachment and sexual desire. Indeed, research suggests that problems in this regard often have their origins in unhealthy attachment styles. These directly attack trust and contribute to the development of sexual relationships as well as expectations or interpretation of events. Attachment is defined as a fondness for something or someone. Sexual desire is the desire for sexual pleasure. Both concepts are related. In fact, we can see it clearly in our everyday life. Connection problems occur when, for example, a person is too dependent on his partner to a high degree even though he knows that it is not really appropriate to be so. Or when someone has a partner that they find it hard to relate to sexually, but they pretend to make them happy. There is no love without sexual instinct. Love uses this instinct as a brute force as the brigantine uses the wind, or a tiger gasset. The way we have learned to relate to each other affects how we relate to others sexually. Connection types. The ability to create bonds can arise in different ways, depending on the experiences we have made and our personal traits. John Bowlby, an English psychoanalyst, developed the theory of attachment. He emphasized that there are different types of attachment and that these are essential for human behavior development. Mary Ainsworth, an American psychologist, also contributed to this theory. She conducted experiments to find out what the interaction between the child, the primary caregiver, and a stranger in a familiar environment is like. Therefore, the attachment theory arose on the basis of the analysis of how an infant relates to its caregiver. These are the different types of attachment. Secure connection. The child learns to create trusting relationships with others. Anxious and ambivalent attachment. The child learns that he or she has no influence on the behavior of others. The parents are attentive or indifferent and the child is unable to make a connection with their behavior. Avoidant attachment. The parents are unavailable and the child learns that he or she cannot count on others. Disorganized attachment. This is a mixture of anxious and avoidant attachment and is due to insecure or neglectful behavior on the part of the parents. Attachment and sexual desire. How are they connected? How we have learned to relate to each other influences how we relate to others sexually. In this sense, Atley, Cock-and-Peirce and Jewett, 2021, investigated the differences in desire and its connection with sexual satisfaction. They also sought to understand how these relationships are sensitive to the type of attachment. The researchers examined 100 couples. Their findings suggested that higher levels of sexual desire were associated with lower avoidant attachment scores. When the identified attachment style was anxious, there was also greater desire. The study also found that people with high avoidant attachment have less interest in sex due to the desire to avoid intimacy. On the other hand, people with higher anxious attachment use sex as a connection or comfort. Other studies also support this idea, suggesting that avoidant attachment is associated with intimacy problems and self-sufficient behavior. This causes sexual problems in the relationship and lower sexual desire. Therefore, people with this type of attachment may be more addicted to masturbation and pornography. While anxiously attached individuals need validation from their partner, They will tend to try to please them in order to satisfy their own need for acceptance. Therefore, they usually present a greater sexual desire related to this need. This means that people with avoidant and anxious attachment can experience problems in their sexual relationships. What about securely attached people? Because they have developed skills in recognizing that everyone may have different perspectives, individual feelings, and strong boundaries, securely attached individuals tend to trust their instincts and be more assertive about sexual desire. They may develop lower or higher sexual desires, but they always take into account their own intentions and their understanding of others. People with secure attachment develop their sexual desire with themselves, but also others, in mind. Attachment and sexual desire, establishing a healthy pathway. By suggesting that the bond we develop with our primary caregiver in childhood conditions our sexual desire, it may project the idea that we are destined to form toxic or healthy relationships, depending on the type of attachment we have developed. Nevertheless, this need not necessarily be the case. But if that turns out to be a problem, there are some tools available that can help. They are the following. Learn to regulate your emotions. If you are more evasive, you should try to increase the intensity of your emotions. If you are anxious, learn to reduce your emotional intensity. Control your impulsiveness. Learn to wait to jump into action. Pause before initiating or agreeing to have sex. Communicate. Ask questions to gain a greater perspective and understanding of your partner's point of view. Separate your feelings from your perceptions about the way you see your partner. Identify your type of attachment. In short, the type of attachment can determine the sexual desire. People with insecure attachment tend to have more problems. People with anxious attachments fear abandonment and want to merge completely with their partner. This often makes the partner long for space. On the other hand, people with avoidant attachment fear rejection, have difficulty expressing their feelings and tend to avoid intimacy. Therefore, they will have less sexual desire. Identifying your type of attachment will help you know which patterns you fall into. In addition, getting to know yourself will help you establish healthy sexual relationships where you take into account your own genuine sexual desire and respect your partner's desire.